All right, how we doing? Good, good. Glad you're still here. Let's talk about export, either exporting out your final or exporting out trial versions or in and out points. There's lots of ways to do it. Basically, you can export out using Premiere Pro or using Media Encoder. Media Encoder is like the rendering engine of Premiere Pro, but without all the editing capability. You can run it in the background and can export a whole bunch of files and queue it up. Premiere Pro will export one at a time, but Media Encoder will export out multiple times. Now, Adobe added a quick export, and I use it now. Every single time I export out for YouTube, I use the high bitrate version that's in the top. There are a limited amount of presets right now, but for sure Adobe's going to come up with a way for you to save your presets in quick export. Let's look at that first. And also remember, you have to have the right panel selected to have export things perform correctly, because Premiere Pro can export out of the project panel and also out of the timeline, and you can have multiple timelines. So let's select our rough cut here. This is what we want to export out. In the top right, quick export, click on that. A small menu comes up. This is where it will be exported to, so you can find any location there that you're exporting to. Below that are the presets, and then here's a quick check to make sure that you're exporting the right settings. Here is H.264, 1080, 1920, 1080, 2997. These are the formats that I want to use. If you want to change them, you can go into this menu and pick either medium or low bit rate or some other common ones. Think of these as YouTube 4K, YouTube HD, 720p or SD. I'm going to leave mine at high bit rate. And when you hit export, it's going to export. And it's going to render the timeline. That's why everybody's export looks the same. It just might take longer on an underpowered computer, but the quality will always look the same. Premiere Pro will blend all of the graphics and the animation, the keyframes, video, LUTs, color, all of that stuff will be rendered at the highest quality on the way out. Okay, so that's one way to export out. Another is to go to the File menu. And you can also use the keyboard shortcut, Control-M on Windows, Command-M on Mac. Export media. Now you can export other formats, EDLs, OMF, this is primarily, and AAF, and XML. All these are really primarily there just to export out basically another kind of universal project for other people to open, whether it's going out as XML to Resolve or something like that. Here we're exporting out our final video. So we choose media, and we get the export dialog box, which is broken into several different sections. On the left is a preview. On the bottom is our timeline, so we could check whether we're exporting out the right thing by going through here. And you can also have an in and out point. The rest of these I always leave the way they're set by default. And on the top right, this is where you get to choose your settings. So for instance, you can choose the same match source settings. Now this one's going to be using an MPEG preview, and it's going to show you the export formats there. I think it's better to choose them in here if you're going to them. And you can export to many different formats here. My recommendation is to always choose the presets because the presets were made by Adobe engineers and they're basing it on the quality of that output. So they're not sitting there guessing. They're actually communicating with YouTube, with Vimeo, and getting the right settings. So H.264 or 265, which is also called HEVC, are very popular formats. So I'll choose H.264, one of the most common formats viewable on any platform. And once you pick a format, then there are a number of presets And again, these presets are made by Adobe. You can click on this button and save your own presets. You can also import other presets if you want, but you can see they've got you covered. Facebook, high quality, mobile, we've got Twitter, Vimeo, and YouTube. So choose 1080p right there. And it's, like I said, it's best not to mess around with these settings over here. The video settings, let me make this bigger so we can see these settings. So you can see if we wanted to, we could change anything like the frame rate, the encoding settings. Again, I really think you should just leave these as the presets. Audio settings, again, use the presets. Captions, if you're using captions. This one can be useful to some, where you can, for instance, log into Creative Cloud, Adobe Stock, Behance, Facebook, an FTP site, Twitter, Vimeo, and your YouTube account. So you would basically log into YouTube, so I'm not signed in, log in. That way you don't have to do two steps where you take this export, load Creator Studio, and then upload. This will take care of it for you. Personally, I don't do this. I don't want things to go live. And I mean, there's lots of settings in here to protect yourself, whether it's public or unlisted or private. I just don't take a chance personally, but you could. And then you could either queue this or export it. So let's hit queue. And this brings up Media Encoder. I already had it running, but yours will launch if you don't. And you can see it puts all the settings there that I chose, and there's the location of where it is. So I can click on that and change it. There's a green button up here to start the queue. You can change this after the fact. So if I really wanted this into a different format, I could choose H.265. I could choose a different format and export it out that way. You can also click on it, and then in these buttons up at the top, you can add another source. You can add another output. You can remove this. You can duplicate this. Click on this so I could duplicate. The first one's going to be H.264. The second one's going to be H.265. Hit the button and off it goes. You could also use all the same presets down here. It's a little bit easier to see these down here, and you can also search by them. So if you click here and choose you can see all the YouTube ones very easily. So you can make your own presets, load presets, lots of great ways to work. And the last thing I want to show you is you can select multiple sequences, right-click, and choose Export Media. And now you'll be able to export all of these and set them in the queue all at the same time. This can be really useful if you're going to be away from your computer for a while and you just want it to crunch away and export all of these different timelines. You can do that. So notice we don't have a preview because we've selected multiple sources, but we still get the same preset menu over here. And then when we hit queue, it will load those into Media Encoder, and then you can start Media Encoder and off it goes. So pretty powerful, pretty easy to use. Like I said, for beginners, just choose the presets. Trust me on this. The best quality you'll get is coming out of these presets. You really don't need to tweak any of that stuff. Whew, we have been through a lot. And I've pointed out a couple times throughout this course about areas where you should watch out for. And the last section, which is coming up next, is troubleshooting. And this is when everything goes wrong and you really need to get some help. All right, we're at the final stage now. And as we all know, nothing goes right all the time, especially with computers, with files, with video. And one of the problems you can have, and this is true of any software that uses a cache, and that is the cache becomes corrupt. Don't ask why, it just does. How do you know it's corrupt? When things aren't working the right way. So Adobe has an interesting way of resetting things. There's several different levels of this that I want to go through. But the first thing I want to look at is this screen here. This is the startup screen. Remember, it has all of the different files in here that we've worked on. And the next step, we're going to clear the prefs and the plugin cache. And when we do, those will be gone. And people freak out and think Adobe has deleted their stuff. Remember, way back in the beginning, we created a folder and we named the folder and we put it in a spot that we knew where it was. That should be your reassurance that even if this stuff is gone from this list, you still know where that stuff is. You look at the list, you cleared it out, I know where it is, I'll load it in from there. That is unbelievably important. You're in control. This list is a convenience. Photoshop does this, Word does this. They're just recent links to outside projects or documents or stuff, okay? So let's reset Premiere Pro. And I said this earlier, some people, this is how they start every day, but it does remove all of your preferences. So all the settings that you've made in your workspaces and stuff, they're gone. I have a tutorial about saving things like that, workspaces. So what you do is you hold down the Alt and Shift key on Windows, the Option and Shift key on Mac immediately after launching it. You have to be really quick. So I've got my fingers over the keys and I'm going to launch that right now. So I'm holding it. You'll know you're successful if you get this here coming up. Are you sure you want to reset the plugin caches and the preferences? And I'm going to click OK. Oh, by the way, the other thing I did was I exported my presets. I don't think they get thrown away. I'm just so paranoid. I don't want to lose them, so I exported them. So I'll click OK. And the list is empty. I don't care because I know where this stuff is. So don't worry about that. Next is deleting the media cache. And I have this open on the desktop. This is my secondary drive. This demo drive is a secondary M.2 SSD in my Dell. And in there I have a folder that I just call Adobe Cache. And all of the Adobe applications point to this location. It's super fast. The cache will be, by default, will be on your Macintosh HD or your C drive. If it's really fast and big, then it's okay. But I tend to like it into a separate place where I've got control and it's not buried in some system library stuff. But we're going to clear it out. So to clear everything out, you start Premiere Pro, but you don't open a project. In the Edit menu, Preferences, Media Cache. And you can see there's where my cache is, and I just browse to it and put it in that location. The rest of these I leave exactly where they are. This database is small, so you don't have to do anything there. But this is where you can click if you want to remove your media cache files, like delete. If you have a project open, then this second option is not available. The first one gives you the ability to delete unused media cache files. This one, delete absolutely everything from the system. Does this mean it's going to delete your stuff, your media, your projects, your titles? No, 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 no. The cache will be remade where Premiere Pro wants to increase performance. So it starts saving things out like peak files and stuff like that. So I'll click OK. It's gone. It's deleted. Click OK. All my stuff is still going to open and export and edit fine. No problem at all. It's not an issue. Okay. The next one is if you have a problem project. So if the project itself seems to be wonky, and this happens if you've had the same project and you've edited that project for a long, long time, maybe weeks or months. Something is just funky with that project. A really good fix is to create a new project. And I'm just going to stick this on my test drive. And I'll call this my fix. See, there's one of the preferences that gets reset. So now I've opened a completely new blank project. What you do, go to the media browser and locate that project wherever it might be. And I could have just clicked there. You'll notice it's a project file. Right-click and import that, and just import everything. Now, this one I haven't used for quite a while, so it's missing a bunch of files. That would be the same if I opened it up. But if you just were finished working on this project and then imported it in a new project, all of that project will be now imported into this new project. Resave it. Lots of times this just happens to fix so many things right away. For whatever reason, Premiere Pro is now saving things differently. It's saving stuff in a different location as far as background files, and a lot of those problems go away. So that's another way to fix things. Another problem people have is converting files or importing files, and they're not getting the video or the audio. And that could either be a specific format, sometimes resetting, holding Option or Alt and Shift, then you can try to import them again. I've heard some crazy solutions out there where a couple of people had said if they try to import one of those problem files, then they get only audio or only video. But if they import two of those at the same time, then they get the correct format. I don't know, that seems crazy, but if it worked for some people, wonderful. Other people will convert the name from a .mp4 to .mov, and that seems to work. I have a whole tutorial about using a free program called Handbrake that can convert to a different format. That's what the professionals do. You got a problem format, just create a new version of it, a good quality version, and import that. That's probably the last-ditch effort. Now, the last-ditch effort is a script that I make free available on our store that you can download. And this is a script for either Mac or Windows. And what it does is it completely removes everything, not your media. It won't get rid of your media or your projects. It won't delete your personal information. It removes all the places that Premiere Pro would have saved files, and it's like you've uninstalled and reinstalled. It's a very powerful script. When I used to work at Adobe, we used to call this the nuclear option. And when something was really bad, you just ran that. And now when you load it up, your workspaces are gone, your presets are gone, all the default stuff as if, like I said, you reinstalled everything. So that's the last option. That's on videoreveal.com/shop. It's on the store there. You can download that. And we used it for years at Adobe, and people are still using it. I make it available, but it is a run at your own risk. Of course, backup, always tons of backups. As soon as I'm finished here, I'm going over to my my RAID, and I'm backing everything up like you should. Whew. Have you made it all the way through? Fantastic. Kudos to you for caring so much about your craft, because every one of us has to learn all the ins and outs about not just the aesthetics of editing, but all the technical stuff that goes with it, because 75% of this has nothing to do with editing. It just has to do with being able to work with files, organize files, protect them, know where they are, name them right, export them, work with titles. It's just, there's so much to learn, but Adobe does a great job of integrating everything inside one application and make it work with other applications like Photoshop and After Effects so easy. So great for you. There's a good chance that you're going to have to watch this several times, especially some of the parts that are new to you. And throughout, you saw that I've got in-depth demonstrations about many of these topics. So You can spend a ton of time here on Video Revealed learning. I've actually been told by several people that everything they learn from Video Revealed, and now they actually have a job as an editor based on that. And I'm encouraged by that. I mean, I'm not just some regular guy out of the blue. I worked for Adobe for 17 and a half years, so I dealt with 20th Century Fox and NBC Universal and ABC Hollywood, and I would go into these places and help them understand Premiere Pro as an alternative to what they were using, but I also listened to what they were doing. So all of this is a combination of that information, that knowledge that I've gained over the years. And I've been working in media for 30 years now, so hopefully you're going to get some great value out of this. I'm very encouraged by you taking your time to go through this whole course. I really do appreciate your support. Thank you very much, and good luck.